Welcome back to my corner. It is so lovely to have you here, and it has been about a week since my first podcast, and a lot has happened, so I can't wait to fill you in. Before I do, a little bit of housekeeping. If you would be so kind, if you like coming here to the corner, please remember to subscribe so you can find your way back easily. And if anything in this video resonates with you, give it a little thumbs up like, so that way I know and we can continue on this journey together. So I want to start in right away with my first, well, my only finished object of the week. And it's a little bit unorthodox, I guess, in that it's not something that can be worn. It's not decor. It is just a sampler, but it's an important sampler. So I've been recently inspired by the sweaters that people, and especially the fishermen, wear on the Isle of Guernsey in the English Channel. And you'll hear some people pronounce it Gansey. That's like just a dialect thing, I guess. I don't really know, but I did look it up and I saw somebody pronouncing it who is from that region of the world, and they did say Guernsey. So that's what I'm gonna stick with because that's what speaks to me. But if you're from there and you're like, no one ever says it that way, please leave a comment below and let me know, because I don't want to be saying it wrong. This is just the way that I figured it out via the internet and videos and all that good stuff. So anyway, I've been inspired by these beautiful sweaters, and the sweaters have panels, generally, of these textured patterns that are knitted in. And the patterns have symbols that represent things. I'm gonna try and show you here. I'll probably be able to show you the symbols better on the project I'm working on, my work in progress. But on this sampler, we have different panels, moss stitch, some diamonds. I did ribbing on this one, but I don't like the way it turned out because of the way that it cinches in with that like stretchiness of the ribbing. Don't love that. So I scrapped that idea. We're gonna do something else. But I used this particular yarn. This was a yarn that was given to me. It's Loops and Threads from Michaels. It was given to me by a friend for my birthday a few years ago. And I wanted to use a tweed to see if the textures would show with a tweed. Now, I will caveat and say I did not love working with this yarn. It's acrylic, 100% acrylic. That's not my favorite. But even with that being said, I felt like the tweed in this yarn really took away from the stitch definition. And I love a tweed, don't get me wrong, especially like an oatmeal tweed like this. Ooh, I love it. But it wasn't showing clearly. So we took a little foray to Michael's the other day. We started at Walmart because they have a lot of Lion Brand stuff. I was hoping they would have fisherman's wool. They didn't. So we trotted over to Michael's, which is in the same shopping center. And there was a lot of this Loops and Threads yarn, and I knew I didn't like working with it. I hadn't enjoyed it. I didn't like the way it worked up especially well. So I was on the hunt. I was like, they've got to have some Lion Brand. They've got to have something. And what I found was Patons. I have not worked with Patons yarn probably since 2009 or 2010 when I very first started knitting. I made some socks. They had a 100% wool yarn in this beautiful off-white color called Aran. This is their worsted weight. And so we have panels with cables to represent waves on the ocean. We've got the moss stitch, that's kind of like pebbles under your feet. The diamond pattern, the fisherman's nets, bringing in abundance and wealth and good things that we want. So I have intentional patterns here, and they all have to do not only with the port life and fishing, but also with universal life. You know, themes of abundance, of overcoming discomfort, of going with the flow. So I've written that into the pattern. I am working on a pattern for this that I hope to publish. So if anybody out there wants to test it when I'm ready for that phase, please leave me a comment, or you can send me an email. It's info@GigisCornerCrafts.com. I'll put that in the description. I would love to have you help me test knit this, because when I read over the pattern and I make my edits, I know what I mean, but I want to make sure that everybody can follow this pattern. This is meant to be an advanced beginner or intermediate level, because it has quite a bit of cable work. Everything else is pretty straightforward, especially if you might notice I use 2 different color stitch markers. This tells me when I'm getting ready to start the right side on this orange one, and then the green tells me when I'm getting ready to start the wrong side. That helps me in case I forget to click my little row counter. I go, okay, which side am I on? Is that an even or an odd number? Let's get cracking. So I'm really falling in love with this. I can't wait until it's a full-blown scarf. And if you're in my Delmarva Knitters group on Facebook, you'll know I kind of hate knitting scarves because I get bored really easily. But it's funny because I'm working on 2 scarves right now. Those are the only things I have on the needles. But the one I showed you last week, and we'll revisit it because I've made a little bit of progress, that is a lace pattern scarf. So there's bits of interest there. We've got yarn overs, we've got decreases, we're counting stitches. This one, the panels change. So you get done working one panel and like you see this beautiful texture and pattern come that you made with your own hands. And then you get to change and make something else. So it's fun, it's engaging. I'm really loving it. These are the kinds of scarves I need to be knitting because a scarf, as you may or may not know, generally you want it between 5 and 7 feet long, depending on how many times you want it to wrap around, how tall the person is who's going to be wearing the scarf. That's a lot of knitting. 5 to 7 feet. I'm 5'3", so I'm knitting the length of myself plus some. It's a lot. And a lot of scarves tend to be fairly straightforward and simple. You know, a ribbed scarf, a garter stitch scarf, even a moss stitch like I have in my scarf. If I did a whole scarf of that, I would be bored to tears. So adding some interest with a lace pattern or these textured panels or color work, I think that is what is saving me in this scarf foray. Speaking of scarves, this is the other pattern that I've been working on designing. And I'm trying to go for little pine cones with this. I'm not sure if that really conveys or not. We're gonna have to see after blocking because I do want to block it widthwise to just stretch the lace panel slightly to give a little bit more definition to it and clarity. We'll see if that helps. It also might need a lighter color. I did get some more yarn. I did get some lace weight yarn to try this pattern out. This is Alpaca Cloud from Knit Picks in the colorway Rochester. Ooh. I'll do the fancy hand trick. I hope that works. This was a bit darker than I thought it was going to be. And that is the one thing about ordering yarns online, is that sometimes the color on your screen conveys differently than the color in real life. And I don't know if that's because of the backlight or because of how they photograph the yarn or what, but so this is another dark colorway. We will see how it looks. I picked a brown because I want it to look like pine cones. So I thought, ooh, brown, pine cones, makes sense. But now I'm thinking maybe like a sage green might be better for this. We'll see, we'll find out. I have to tell you, I love going into my little stash drawers. It's so much fun. I love their little lights. When I'm not filming, I have motion sensors on the lights. So as I open the door, the light comes on and shows me all my beautiful yarn or my well-organized notions. It's just, it's fun. If you want to see how I organize my notions, let me know in the comments below. I've been toying with the idea of showing you that while we sit in the corner together and chat, but I just don't know if that's something that would be interesting or if that would be horribly boring to you. So let me know. And if you want to see that, we can certainly go through my particular organization process. And how I organize here in the stash area is certainly different than if I was taking a project on the road with me somewhere. But that it kind of always depends on the project a little bit. So we'll just have to play that one by ear. Maybe with each project, I can kind of show you how I'm organizing that project at the time. Lately, because I'm working on scarves, there's very little notionry I can show you. This is my stitch counter that I use. It's from Clover. I love this little guy. I think because it reminds me of the telephone booths in London. And even though I have never been across the pond, as they say, my memory of that comes from Busch Gardens in Virginia. So for all my folks in the UK, sorry if this is super corny, but I used to do a lot of community theater, and it is traditional after a show closes to have some kind of a cast gathering, usually a party at someone's house or a local diner or restaurant or whatever. But for one particular show, we did it twice, but in this one particular show, we went to Busch Gardens as most of the cast after the show closed for the weekend. And Busch Gardens, at least at the time, I haven't been there in a long time, but at that time, they were set up to be different countries all around the park. So the rides and the attractions were all themed to the country you were in. And they had one of the red telephone booths set up in the UK area. And my friends and I took some fun, fabulous photo opportunities. If I can find those photos, I will share them with you. But that is a fond memory for me. So that little Clover row counter just evokes positivity for me. I love it. So that concludes finished objects and works in progress. I did promise you I would show you some historical knitting. So let's crack into that. The historical knitting I have for you today, coming from the Museum of My Knits, is in the form of 2 pairs of socks. And the first pair was knitted in 2009, I believe. It's on my Ravelry page, so I will link that in the description, or at least tell you what my handle is so that you can find me if you want. But these were called the Whoopsie socks. And they were, I believe, Bernat sock yarn. Really pretty, brown and shades of blue. And they're pretty old now. So they have kind of a waffly rib pattern on them. Super comfy, quite lovely, have lasted these many years. And the reason I call them the Whoopsie socks is because the leg, I think I probably just followed the pattern exactly, and they came out a little too wide for me, so they were very slouchy. And that was not my intention, so whoopsie. I gave these socks to my mom. She had them for many years. She wore them as kind of slipper socks around the house to keep her little tootsies warm. And then she recently gave them back to me because she, I guess, was done with them. Maybe they don't fit her as well as they used to anymore or something. I don't know. But they are a fun little memento for the museum, so I will hold on to those. The second pair of socks I have, these might be Bernat too. They might be Pattons. I don't remember, and unfortunately I don't think I put them into my Knit Picks notebook. But these, beautiful green colorway, these are my interlacing cable socks. And this is a design I made myself. I think this was the second design I ever made, and I was really into cables when I first started designing patterns for myself. I really love the way this turned out. I am crossing my fingers on a wing and a prayer that you're going to be able to see this. But we have these really pretty, almost Celtic, not quite, interlacing cables. It has tight cables followed by ovals that interweave in the middle, and it just kind of follows that pattern over and over again all the way down to the toe. And I think they're gorgeous. I'm so proud of the young knitter that I was, being ambitious enough to try to come up with my own pattern and test it, and it turned out pretty great. I'm sure there's some mistakes in there and pearls where there should be knits and knits where there should be pearls, but that's not such a big deal. I think I can handle that. Recently, when I found some of my old patterns that I had written up for myself or for knitwear gifts, this pattern in very faint pencil handwriting was among them. So I'm going to try to see how much of it I can read and transcribe and recreate. And if I can do it, and if I pull it off, I definitely want to publish this pattern so you all can knit it too, because it's a stunner. I just am in love with it, and I hope that you love it and that you make some knits that you get a lot of years of wear out of as well. I have two more exciting pieces of news. The first is that I am crafting a website, GigisCornerCrafts.com. I should be publishing it probably by this coming Monday. And it's going to be very simple, very bare bones for now, because I don't exactly know what you need from me on a website yet. So if you have helpful suggestions, that would be most welcome. Leave them in the comments, shoot me an email. I am looking forward to this becoming a space where we can connect with each other, and you can dive a little bit deeper into some of the things we talk about here on this podcast. And it's also going to be a home for some knitting retreats that I plan on hosting in the coming year. And so we'll have all of the information about those retreats. We will have some little teasers. We'll have information on how to get in touch with me about the retreat. My goal is to, before the retreat happens, be able to do some one-on-one, either phone or Zoom calls, so I can get to know a little bit about where everybody is in their knitting, what they need, what they're hoping to get out of something like a knitting retreat, so that way we can really customize the retreats to the people who are going to participate. So stay tuned. I will have more details on that soon. And one last thing before I release you into the wild. Today, I am going to go to a knitting group. I have been trying to make more in real life knitting friends in my area. As we discussed last time, the knitting friends I had in the past, we all moved in different directions in life, and we are a bit far flung now. And yeah, there's FaceTime and pictures and all that kind of good stuff, but I want to sit in a room with people and knit and get excited about our projects and the things we want to work on in the future, and showing off things we've done in the past, all that kind of good stuff. So there is a knitting group, not the Procrastinators. That is next week, I believe. That one only meets once a month. This one meets every week at our local library. It's in the afternoons. Right now, that's something that I can do, so I'm going to take advantage of that. And I have a feeling this crowd might not be as close to my age group as the Procrastinators is designed to be, just because it's in the middle of the day and I don't know how many people can really break away in their work day. Probably a lot of retired folks, but I love everybody who knits. Like, okay, that's a broad overstatement. There are probably some people that I love a little less, but in general, we have this great thing in common, and I've been knitting for a long time. I'm sure the people in this group have been knitting for a long time. Maybe there are going to be some newer knitters there, and we can all kind of share knowledge and experience, and maybe I can find some more people to test these patterns when they're done. You know, all kinds of good things. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it's going to be a positive endeavor today. I will keep you updated on how it goes and the kind of people that I meet at this knitting group. It's going to be, we have a fireplace area in our library, and so it's going to be in the couches and chairs and things around that. So I'm looking forward to a cozy afternoon of sitting and knitting and getting to know some new folks, just like I am getting to know you here on YouTube. So thank you for joining me. Like I said before, if this video is something that you can get behind, it's something that you feel like connects with you or resonates with you in any way, please make sure to give it a like. It really helps. And if you want to find your way back to the corner, go ahead and subscribe. I would love to have you back anytime. And I can't wait to fill you in on all of the progress and the knitting group and retreats and all kinds of good stuff that's coming in the future. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any of it. Thank you for joining me today. I know this one's a lot shorter than my last one. Future videos will probably range in length, but I just didn't have that much to beleaguer you with today. So I'm gonna leave it there. Thanks for joining me, and I can't wait to see you next time.